than what Mr. Langevin's amendment just did. It would prohibit insourcing of currently contracted positions that are not inherently governmental until 45 days after the GAO has completed a review of the efficacy and accuracy of the models, the tools, and the methodology used by DoD to perform the cost analysis supporting the decision to do the insourcing. I really think that this improves the mark. What it actually does is add congressional oversight to DoD's management of human capital. We all know that the pendulum has now swung from outsourcing to insourcing, but I believe that this pendulum swing is basically on an unproven cost savings model. DoD guidance on insourcing directs the insourcing of jobs in one of three categories: jobs that are inherently governmental, 2, jobs that are otherwise prohibited from performance by a contractor, and 3, jobs that should be insourced because it saves money. The amendment does not take issue with the jobs in Category 1 or 2. In fact, it specifically exempts them. The committee fully supports DoD's efforts to balance its workforce and pull inherently governmental jobs back into the workforce. What this amendment does is simply require GAO to take a hard look at the business rules used by the DoD to determine if it's more cost-effective to have a government employee or a contractor do the work. The amendment specifically asks GAO to look at the time of extreme budget pressures and weakened U.S. economy, that we must ensure we're doing the right thing for the right reason, not because we just want to be the ones advocating for change. And I have some comments later, but I'd like to yield back my time because there are other members that would like to address this amendment.
Mr. Ortiz.
My good friend knows how much respect I have for him, but at this point I must oppose the amendment. This is pure and simple paralysis by analysis. And GAO reports can be useful, but this one is excessive and overreaches. Most of the requirements are unnecessary and are not relevant to insourcing. Secretary Gage just announced his insourcing policy barely a year ago. I think we need to let it go forward, let it move. We're only talking about a total by fiscal year 2015 of 33,000 positions that will be brought back in-house. That might sound like a lot of positions, but not compared to the fact that DoD relies on almost 1 million contractors. DoD should be able to bring back work that it has decided it must retain to regrow an organic capability, especially in the acquisition workforce, and we should not stop those efforts. The Langevin amendment, which we voted on earlier, is the acceptable way that we need to go. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman yields back.
Chairman.
Mr. Forbes. Excuse me.
Chairman, ranking member.
Yes, I didn't see Mr. McKeon. Excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is one that affects me personally in my district. That I've met with some people in my district that have real strong feelings about this. The pendulum has swung from outsourcing to insourcing on the basis of unproven cost savings. However, the department has proceeded with this effort, even posting jobs online before responding to concerns raised by Mr. Forbes, Mr. Ortiz, and myself in a series of letters to Secretary Gates. This lack of responsiveness to the committee's concerns really is troubling. This is forcing installations to insource some jobs that are better served as a contracted function. In my district, we've seen the impact of insourcing on the firefighters at Air Force Plant 42. These are people that have performed these jobs for years, and now without giving them a chance to recompete, they've put the jobs out for listing, and they've put age requirements that preclude these people that have done these jobs for years from even participating or even competing for these jobs. Unlike traditional military installations, Plant 42 is a government-owned, contractor-operated facility. There are over 6,500 total contractor positions at Plant 42, compared with 10 civilian Air Force slots and 1 uniform position. The cost savings estimated for this Plant 42 insourcing effort is 2.5%, a savings that easily could be recouped by recompeting the contract. Because these jobs are not inherently governmental and the cost savings is minimal, I can only conclude that this action is being done solely to comply with quotas imposed to meet the department's overall goal to reduce contractor levels. We should halt all insourcing based on cost savings until this committee, receive more information on the administration's cost savings claims. I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. Mr. Andrews.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think if we look at the context in which this amendment is offered, we will oppose it. Part of that context is the amendment we just adopted from Mr. Langevin, which prohibits quotas in this area.